Hello, everyone. Welcome to Suspense Magazine. I'm your host, Tracey Devlyn, and I'm here today with USA Today bestselling author Alison Gaylin to talk about her new release, We Are Watching. Welcome, Alison.
Thank you so much. Welcome. Thank you for welcoming me.
Yes, yes, it's so great having you here. As I mentioned briefly off camera, We Are Watching was just a delight to read, as I mentioned, I hope it was a compliment in saying it was creepy, and it was just really a lot of fun to read. So
Yeah.
thank you for putting this out in the world for us.
Oh, I'm so glad. I worked very hard on it, so it's very gratifying to hear that you found it creepy.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so I appreciate that.
All right. Well, if you don't mind, why don't you get us started and just tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Oh, sure. I published my first book in 2005, and it was called Hide Your Eyes. I live up in Woodstock, New York. Since publishing Hide Your Eyes, I believe at this point, I'm on book number 15. I write suspense, psychological suspense. I won the Edgar Award for one of my books, called If I Die Tonight. My most recent book in my own name was The Collective, but I also do Robert Parker's Sunny Randall series under my own name, but it's his characters, his series. I got a little bit of a split personality in the publishing business, but I'm very excited about We Are Watching because it's my first book since The Collective, which came out in 2021. I think it's got sort of a similar feel to it. It's psychological suspense. It's a bit of something that sort of talks to you about, wow, that couldn't possibly happen. Then again, it could. So that's the kind of book I like to write.
Yeah, absolutely. While you're at it, why don't you go ahead and just, give us a brief description of We Are Watching.
Yeah, well, We Are Watching is about a normal family that whose lives are thrown into an uproar when they are targeted by a group of violent conspiracy theorists. Again, sort of like The Collective, which was sort of about a secret society of women getting revenge for the death of their children. This is a situation which, while purely fictional, could potentially happen, particularly in today's landscape, when everybody is online. People find other people who agree with them on the most insane issues, and when they're together, it's very easy for them to get weaponized. I should say that this book is told entirely through the points of view of the victims, of the people that are targeted by these people. I wanted to sort of create a tense atmosphere. I love the books of Ira Levin, Rosemary's Baby, The Stepford Wives, that type of thing. I guess you'd call it sort of social horror. And I think We Are Watching kind of falls into that sort of milieu, I guess.
Yes, yeah, mission accomplished, by the
Oh,
way. If
yeah.
that was what you were going for, absolutely
Yeah.
mission accomplished. Because I tell you, this is just one of those stories that nip away at the reader's safety net, page by page, word by word. It was just there's just such a thrilling buildup of tension throughout the entire story. Just
Thank
it
you.
was amazing. Do you remember what you were doing when the concept of this story came to you?
Yeah, I found myself, I'm kind of fascinated by conspiracy theory and its ability to spread. And I sort of think it's sort of like before the internet when there were urban legends and they would spread over a period of sort of decades, but conspiracy theories just pick up and spread and snowball. And I was thinking about conspiracy theories sort of like the Illuminati, Pizzagate, QAnon, things like that, whose targets the people that these other people believed were part of this horrible conspiracy were all by and large pretty much famous people, right? So they're public figures, so they have the ability to have security. They sort of expect this type of thing, and so I started thinking, what if a by and large regular family was targeted by these people? What would be the reasons for this happening? Um, so that was sort of the germ of it. And then I was also thinking a lot about the Satanic Panic back in the 80s and the 90s when rock bands would be accused of Satanism, or other people, people who ran a preschool were accused of Satanism, and which wasn't true, the McMartin preschool. So,
Even if they just dressed differently in school, if they wore
yes,
too many dark colors or things like that. I remember, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Kids who were just goth, or
Yes.
something like, there's that wonderful documentary Paradise Lost that came out a while ago about, these poor boys that were accused of some type of satanic sacrifice, basically, and they were just goth kids at school.
Yeah.
They paid more than the price for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the in the book, the sort of the patriarch, the father, was a achieved some minor success as a rock musician back in the 70s and 80s. And I envision him as part of a prog rock band like Yes, or maybe like a Ozzy Osbourne or Led Zeppelin or something like that. But more of a prog rock band. And they there were rumors of Satanism about this band and about him in particular. So that sort of snowballed into something that the mythology grew. The rumors were going around for years, and then I was thinking, well, with groups online, this could really, really spread. And his daughter, who is now, early 50s, late 40s, early 50s, um, when she was 15, she wrote a book that won a contest and got a really small publication. But then these same people that said that he was some kind of a witch or a satanic witch, are now saying that her book foretold the future, foretold COVID, and has a curse attached to it, which would cause the end of the world. I'm probably giving too many spoilers here, but
Yeah. No,
anyway, it's
yeah.
just like there's this is that part came, I should say, because my husband wrote this movie called No Escape. It came out in the 90s. Ray Liotta was in it.
Oh,
And really weirdly, coincidentally, it deals with a futuristic prison. It takes place in 2022. It came out in the 90s, right? So there's a mention of an event in Benghazi, which my husband just kind of invented. He thought it sounded like an exotic place. But he started getting letters from people like, how did you know there was going to be something that happened in Benghazi? And so that kind of was the germ of this book that she wrote as a kid. And so anyway,
nice.
yeah.
Yes, yes. And I think the title of the book was probably tied into that notion that it was prophetic too, right? The
Yeah,
prophecy, right? Yeah, yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
You had mentioned the type of tone that you were looking for with this novel. Is there anything that you hope that readers take away from the story?
I think that there's a real danger in belief, rather than actual knowledge, in belief, and the truth right now is such a nebulous thing that's scary. I like to write about things that scare me, and to me, what scares me is people can people, especially large groups of people, can be so convinced of a certain belief that you can scream the truth in their face, especially if it's about you. And they won't listen. They'll say they're right. Um, I feel that um, it, the thing to take away would probably be don't make assumptions about people. Listen, learn, grow, change your mind. That doesn't make you weaker. It makes you
Mhm.
stronger if you actually listen and you get closer to the truth that way. I hope
Yeah.
that makes sense. Does it?
Yeah, no, I like it. Yeah, that's great. Um, is there a character that you identified with most in this story?
Probably Meg, the mother,
Mm.
who wrote this book. And because of things that sort of happened in her own life around the period of the book, which is sort of a completely different issue from what happens as part of the plot. She stopped writing. She never wrote again. And I think creativity and writing is such a tenuous thing, and it can be scared out of you if you get anybody saying that something's wrong or judging you about it. You can, neglect this part of yourself that's kind of screaming to be let out. So just as a creative person, as somebody who just gets depressed if she's not writing, that part of that character sort of spoke to me. She also is a mother of an 18-year-old daughter and would do anything to protect her. I have a daughter who's now 23. I feel very much the same way. I know my daughter sometimes, I mean, now she's a little older, but especially when she was that age, she was sometimes annoyed by me, but and my, sort of desire to protect her. That's
It's
another
a
part of me that
it's a universal thing, I think, between mothers and daughters.
yes,
And
exactly.
I thought you did a really good job with Meg and Lily and their relationship, and how it was a loving relationship, but they weren't always completely truthful with each other either, right? So
Exactly. I think they're both sort of trying to protect each other in a way. That's why we don't tell certain things to our parents and our parents don't tell certain things to us because, the complete truth. There's a reason for the phrase brutal honesty, and you don't want to be brutal with your with your mother or your child. So,
yeah,
yeah.
for sure, for sure. Now, you had mentioned in your introduction that you're writing in this what I've heard termed as a legacy series. What is it like to write in that Robert B. Parker's? I think it was Sunny Randall that you're writing
Yes.
in. Yeah, in that
Yeah.
world. What's that
It-
like?
It's interesting because his books are very different from mine. I write psychological suspense. My books tend to be darker. His books are wonderful. They're I guess you'd call them mysteries, but there's a little bit of a hard-boiled aspect to them, but there's a lot of humor, which I
Yeah.
love, a lot of dialogue. They're very fast-moving. So to me, it's sort of almost like I used to write for magazines for my day job, and it was a different style of writing. I'm writing in the style of the magazine. I'm not, writing in my own style.
Mhm.
So it's sort of like using a different part of your brain. It's a real challenge. And when I'm writing the Robert Parker books, I always say that, in the world of Sunny Randall, there are just so many wonderful characters that he's created. So I always say it's like being given this, you know, amazing toolbox full of really expensive, incredible tools, and somebody tells you to build a table with it. And of course, you're going to build a great table because you've got these great tools. And that's how I feel about his characters. I've also invented some of my own characters that I feel would fit well into his world, but it really is about honoring his voice as best I can. I know I
Mhm.
don't sound exactly like him, but I try to at least capture the essence of the characters as best I can.
Now, do you have the same editor that he had, or is the editor different?
No, I
Okay.
don't. I've had actually a couple of editors over at Putnam since I started working there.
Mhm.
But I think I'm pretty sure that both of them came to work there after he passed away.
Okay.
But my editor, who was there, my current editor is Tarani, who's great. I love her. But my editor Danielle, who was there before her, actually moved over to William Morrow, and it was my is my editor on We Are Watching, and she's wonderful.
Oh,
So that was
nice.
great. Yeah, and it was
Okay.
yeah, it's a really different, interesting experience working with her on both the Parker books versus my own.
Mhm.
She's Danielle Diedrich. She's an amazing editor. So
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard sometimes whenever when authors who are writing in these legacy series, if they're working with the editor who worked with the original author, they have these kind of guardrails that they can stay within. They can play all they want within those guardrails, but they have that I guess that safe feeling, that the editor will keep them inside of it. So that's the reason I was
yeah.
asking about the editor, if maybe you had that too.
Well, his family,
Ah,
his family
okay.
is very much involved. And as far as it's really his estate that kind of always gets like the final read on the books. So there are
Oh,
those guardrails. I know with my first book, Initially my ending was a little too dark, and they pointed that out, but they do give me a lot of freedom within the parameters of
Good.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes it feel somewhat like your own too, I think, that's the way I would perceive it. Like you said, you're working with a certain amount of these certain parameters, but there's a lot of wiggle room in there where you can make it your own and still honor, the original author. So I think that's
Yes,
great.
absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Nice. Well, as we bring the interview to a close, I was wondering if you could tell us what's up with you. Are you working, what's next for you, I should say? Are you working on any fun projects that you can talk about or?
Well, I'm working on another right now. I have an idea for another book, but that's still in a kind of germination phase.
Yeah.
But I am writing actively another Robert Parker book, another Sunny Randall book, and it's called Booked. That's
Oh,
new
nice.
for readers, and it's about it includes a character that Parker invented, and that was also used by Mike Lupica, who was doing the Sunny Randall books before me, named Melanie Joan Hart, and she's like a world famous best-selling author, very fun to write. But she hires Sunny when she is writes her first memoir and gets this horrible one-star review on an anonymous website. She wants Sunny to find out the identity of the person who wrote this review because she overreacted to it herself and wants. Yeah. So anyway, that's sort of what it's about. Things snowball. There's of course death and mayhem and everything.
Of course.
Which always starts when you get one-star reviews. That's kind of an inevitable.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's how we all feel when we see those pop up, right?
Yes, exactly.
Murderous.
I'm going to hire a PI and find out the identity. No, I'm just kidding.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you so much, Allison. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today. We are watching releases on January 28th. Do I have that date right?
Yes, that's
Uh,
correct. Thank you
Great.
so much. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So folks, go on out and grab yourself a copy or the pre-order copy, I should say, at your favorite bookstore. And Allison, where's the best place for readers to connect with you online?
Well, I have a website, AlisonGaylin.com, but I'm on Instagram, Alison.Gaylin, and I'm on Blue Sky as well, and Facebook. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
lots of
it.
places. All
Yeah.
right, great. Well, that's it for today, folks. Thank you for joining us on Suspense Magazine. Thanks again, Allison,
Thank
and
you.
goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.